Combining Tower Defense Simulator and speedrunning can give you some pretty interesting results. Professional players using rare towers to get the maximum amount of damage possible and to go as fast as physically possible. However, what if you were to combine something really hard with a speedrun? You get this video. Today, I'm going to be soloing a dual lane map, and to add on to that, I won't even be using Commander. A dual lane map is a lot harder to speedrun. For a strategy that normally uses two gladiators at the start, well, separating them doesn't exactly work. The problem is that hard waves, such as bosses, are going to spawn a boss only on one side. If you've divided your defenses across both exits equally, then the side with the boss will only receive half the damage, while on a single lane map, all of your defenses are going to be focused on that boss. So, let's get into it. This is how I speedran a dual lane map. Let's start it off in the lobby. The map I chose is Infernal Abyss. This map, in my opinion, is probably the best dual lane map for speedrunning. Our only other options are Battlelands, Candy Valley, Winter Stronghold, and Space City. Those maps aren't gonna cut it. Their entrances are too far apart, while on Infernal Abyss, the two entrances are a little bit closer to each other, meaning that defenses in the center would be able to target enemies from both sides. The next important thing to pay attention to is my loadout. A common starter tower for speedrunning is Gladiator. This obviously is because it's really good at it, but just look at these two entrances. I think you can already tell that this wouldn't work. So my starter tower of choice was the Golden Scout. I considered the Golden Soldier, but the issue with the Golden Soldier is you can only place one on the first wave, and seeing as there's two entrances, it would mean I'd waste a lot of time saving up for the Golden Soldier. Now take a look at my scout placement. I placed one scout on the right side and two scouts on the left side. That's because on the first wave there are 5 abnormals, so the side on the left has 3 abnormals while the side on the right has 2. Next wave, however, we were gonna have 6 abnormals, meaning 3 on each side, so I needed to get one more golden scout on the other side to make sure I have the coverage. As the waves are going by, I start farming, and it's about time to explain the rest of my loadout. You may notice I'm using a certain tower you wouldn't expect to see in a speedrun, the Engineer. So why exactly would I bring the Engineer over Accelerator, for example? Well, looking at my loadout, there's no Commander. The Accelerator's power gets magnified a lot by the Commander, and without it, it just doesn't perform as well. And to add on to that, Engineer could also block stuns. This would mean that the Fallen King's Stomp when he spawns wouldn't actually destroy all my sentries, and we'd keep a ton of damage. And don't forget, the sentries do not get buffed by Commander anyways, so that Engineer was going to be doing just as much damage as it would have otherwise. Next up is Gold Mini. This one's a very obvious choice. It doesn't have a placement limit, and it's fairly cheap. And finally, I had DJ. Why did I choose DJ over Commander, you may be thinking? Because I knew a majority of the damage would be coming from the Engineers, who don't get buffed by Commander. And seeing as they're quite expensive, the DJ was the better choice in this match. Alright, cool. Now that I've explained everything, Wave 7 rolled around, and it was time to get some more Golden Scouts. 2 of them on each side would not be enough to handle the heavies, but 4 on each side would. And I managed to save 4 seconds over skipping by finishing off the slows 4 seconds before the skip button appeared. Then, after a little more farming, it was time for the boss, Wave 10. My current defense was definitely not enough to handle an entire boss, so I decided to do what any pro player would do and farm. The boss rudely walked right by them and didn't even admire the fact that I was investing so much money into them, but that was the least of my concerns. I had a little more business to tend to, so I placed a few more farms. Alright, now there was a boss, but this time it was on the right side. And if you notice, I don't have any farms on the right side, so I was definitely going to need to upgrade something to take the boss down. I upgraded one of the scouts to level 3, and now it was doing 8 damage per shot to the boss because of its defense. I also set the scout on strongest so that it would target the boss and not the stupid abnormals that were getting in the way. And thanks to that, I managed to shave off another 4 seconds. Now it was wave 13, which were a bunch of shadows. I had one side covered with my level 3 scout, but I didn't have my other side covered. So what I did was get another level 3 scout. And because the shadows are split, it was pretty easy. So both scouts received less enemies than they otherwise would have, and we were able to take them down pretty easily. However, wave 14 was a little bit of a bigger problem. We had 2 abnormal bosses now. So to counter 2 abnormal bosses, I upgraded 2 more scouts to level 3. And this worked wonderfully, as I was able to shave off 4 seconds yet again. Having all these scouts also carried me through wave 15 because that was just more shadows. A few more farming later, and it was time for mysteries, which are a little bit worrying. You only have 4 scouts on each side, so if you get a bunch of bosses, your run is screwed. I did not get a bunch of bosses, but I got more mysteries the next wave, which meant more chances to get more bosses. Wave 18 had way more mysteries than normal, and I wasn't ready to risk anything, so I just upgraded 2 scouts to max. And I'm glad I did, because the right side pushed kind of far. If we got another boss there, our run would have been doomed. Then I got the DJ, and putting the farms in its range was a good idea, because now I got a discount on them, as well as all the towers around. I was getting prepared for the next wave, which were Fallens, and I hate Fallens, which is why I was getting prepared for them. And that certainly was enough to take him down, except the scout on the right didn't really get a discount, but who cares, it's only $200. Wave 21 had mysteries which could now spawn Fallens, which I've said countless times is absolutely cruel, so I decided to go for a gold mini, and I'm glad I did, because look how close the Fallens got to exiting the range. Next up, Wave 22, which is the giant boss, and also time for my max level golden mini. This wasn't going to be enough to take down the boss before the skip, but it was going to be enough to do damage for it so that we didn't have to worry about the next wave once we skipped. Now it was wave 24, which meant there was a shadow boss on the way, and I knew it was going to spawn on the left side, but with 3 golden scouts and a max level golden mini, the shadow boss died a lot faster than I expected it to. Okay, so now I had all max level farms, and I only had one wave that was troubling me. Wave 30, because that was the wave for the tank. No wait, that's not the right one. This one. So in order to get prepared for it, I maxed out my DJ first since everything I had was expensive, and I started placing golden minis in the range of the DJ. But unfortunately, the gold minigunners do not have enough DPS to take down a tank on their own, so I'd need an engineer for that. I decided to place the ducking engineer right here, which has absolutely nothing to do with ducks except for its placement animation, and now all I needed to do was max it. This got me a little bit worried though. I needed $28,000, and I only had not $28,000. I knew the farms would give me $12,000, so all I needed to do was just hope that I'd make enough money this wave to be able to afford a max level engineer next wave. And thankfully I was. I got a max level engineer, and now it was time to show the tank who's boss. The tank still punched through pretty far back, but the range of the sentries and gold minigunners with DJ was big enough to take it down. And knowing I got past the hardest wave for a while now, it was just back to placing more towers. At this point, there really isn't that much to comment on. It's just Fallen mode. Everybody's seen Fallen mode gameplay since like the beginning of TDS. Although I did set one engineer on last so that it would attack the mystery bosses in the back, so the wave would auto skip. Next up we had a Templar, so I placed a scout behind a rock to get the Templar to shoot at it, and that big stupid bucket head actually did. I'd sold all my golden scouts because I could invest that money into golden minis and get more damage out of them. Alright, 6 max level engineers, a few more golden minigunners, and it's time for wave 40. Now it's time for me to sell all my farms and invest that money into, you guessed it, golden minis. Now I didn't want to spend all of my money on golden minis. I wanted to save some because I'd clearly not have enough damage to kill the Fallen King, so I wanted to move my towers to the back. After barely killing a Fallen Guardian as it was about to get out of our range, we were now focusing all of our firepower on the Fallen King. And the hardest part of the run starts now. It's microing towers like no tomorrow, selling every single thing that can't see the Fallen King just to make all of that money up. And as soon as the Fallen King used his stun ability, I decided it was about time to move the DJ to the back and start microing my towers. So I sold all my engineers and ran straight to the back to place all 6 of them down. I accidentally placed a golden mini, but it would just be a waste of money to sell it, so I maxed it out and placed down the rest of my max level engineers. Now take a look at this. The Fallen King is at 70,000 health, and this is how much space he has left to get to the end. Clearly for this to work, you are going to need some fast micro, which is exactly what I did. The Fallen Guardians were approaching, and they had a lot of health, which was kinda scary. Although light bulb went off in my brain, and I spammed a few scouts in order to trick the Fallen Guardians into stunning them, and staying a little bit further back. Now that the sentries have all been built, and I had a ton of golden minigunners at the back, our DPS was looking fantastic. We killed the Fallen King 18 minutes and 18 seconds. I think that makes me cool now or whatever. Okay, bye.